ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। अष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। हरिः ओं श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 2. Daksha curses Lord Shiva. Viduravacha Bhaveshilavatam Shresthe Daksho Duhitra Vatsalaha Vidvesham Akarot Kasmad Anadrutyatmajam Satim. Vidura inquired, why was Daksha, who was so affectionate towards his daughter, envious of Lord Shiva, who is the best among the gentlemen? Why did he neglect his daughter Sati? Kastam gurum nirvairam shanta vigraham atmaramam katah dveshti jagato daivatam mahat. Lord Shiva, the supreme spiritual master of the entire world, is free from enmity, is a peaceful personality, and is always satisfied in himself. He is the greatest among the demigods. How is it possible that Daksha could be inimical towards such an auspicious personality? एतत् आख्याहि मे ब्रह्मन् जामातुः स्वसुरस्य च विद्वेषस्तु यतः प्राणांस् तत्यजे दुष्ट्य सति. My dear Maitreya, please, to part with one's life is very difficult. Would you kindly explain to me how such a son-in-law and father-in-law could quarrel so bitterly that the great goddess Sati could give up her life? Maitreya Vacha Pura Vishwasrajam Shastre Sametaha Paramarshayah Tatamara Gana Sarve Sanuga Munayon. The sage Maitreya said, in a former time, the leaders of the universal creation performed a great sacrifice in which all the great sages, philosophers, demigods, and fire gods assembled with their followers. Tatra pravishtam rishayo दृष्ट्वार्कम् इव रोचिषा भ्राजमानं वितिमीरं kurvantam तन्महत्सदः. When Daksha, the leader of the Prajapatis, entered that assembly with his personal bodily luster as bright as the effulgence of the sun, the entire assembly was illuminated and all the assembled personalities became insignificant in his presence. उदतिष्ठन् सदस्यास्ते स्वदिष्ण्येभ्यः सहाग्नः नयः ऋते विरिञ्चां सर्वं च तद्भाषा क्षिप्तचेतसः. Influenced by his personal bodily luster, all the fire gods and other participants in that great assembly, with the exceptions of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, gave up their own sitting places and stood in respect for Daksha. सदसस्पतिभिर्दक्षो भगवान् साधु सत्कृतय कृतः अजं लोक गुरुर्नत्वा निशसाद तत् आज्ञया. Daksha was adequately welcomed by the president of the great assembly, Lord Brahma. After offering Lord Brahma respect, Daksha, by the order of Brahma, properly took his seat. प्राणिष्यन्नन् मृडं दृष्ट्वा नामृष्यत्तद् अनादृतः उवाच वामं चक्षुर्भ्याम् अभिवीक्ष्य दहन् इव. Before taking his seat, however, Daksha was very much offended to see Lord Shiva sitting and not showing him any respect. At the time, Daksha became greatly angry and his eyes glowing, he began to speak very strongly against Lord Shiva. श्रुत श्रूयतां ब्रह्मर्षयो मे सह देवा सहाग्नया साधूनां भ्रुवतो वृत्तं नाज्ञानां नाज्ञानां न च मत्सरात्. All sages, brahmanas, and fire gods present, please hear me with attention, for I speak about the manners of gentle persons. I do not speak out of ignorance or envy. अयं तु लोकपालानां यशोग्नो निरपत्रपः सद्भिराचरितः पन्था येन स्तब्धेन दूषितः. Shiva has spoiled the name and fame of the governors of the universe and has polluted the path of gentle manners. Because he is shameless, he does not know how to act. एष मे शिष्यतां प्राप्तो यन्मे दुहितुर् अग्रहीत् पाणिं विप्राग्नि मुखतः सावित्र्या इव साधुवत्. He has already accepted himself as my subordinate by marrying my daughter in the presence of fire and brahmanas. He has married my daughter, who is equal to Gayatri, and has pretended to be just like an honest person. गृहीत्वा मृगसावाख्या पाणिमर्कटलोचना प्रत्युत्थानाभिवादार्हे वाचापि वासापि अकृत नोचितम्. He has eyes like a monkey's, yet he has married my daughter, whose eyes are just like those of a deer cub. Nevertheless, he did not stand up to receive me, nor did he think it fit to welcome me with sweet words. लुप्तक्रियाया सूचये मानिने भिन्नसेवते अनिच्छन्नपि अदां बालां शूद्रा येवो सतीं गिरम्. I had no desire to give my daughter to this person who has broken all rules of civility. Because of not observing the required rules and regulations, he is impure, but I was obliged to hand over my daughter to him just as one teaches the messages of Vedas to a Shudra. प्रेतावासेषु घोरेषु प्रेतैर्भूतगणैर्वृतः अटति उन्मत्तवन्नग्नो व्युप्तकेशो हसन् चिताभस्मकृतास्नानः प्रेतासृन् नृस्तिभूषणः शिवापदेशो शिवापदेशो हि अशिवो मत्तो मत्तजनः प्रियः पतिः प्रमतो नाथानां तमो मात्रात्मकात्मनाम्. He lives in filthy places like crematoriums, and his companions are the ghosts and demons. Naked like a madman, sometimes laughing and sometimes crying, he smears crematorium ashes all over his body. He does not bathe regularly, and he ornaments his body with a garland of skulls and bones. Therefore, only in name he is Shiva or auspicious. Actually, he is the most mad and inauspicious creature. Thus, he is very dear to crazy beings in the gross mode of ignorance, and he is their leader. तस्मा उन्मादनाथाय नष्टशौचाय दुहृदे दत्तबलमया साध्वी चोदिते परमेष्टिना. On the request of Lord Brahma, I handed over my chaste daughter to him, although he is devoid of all cleanliness and his heart is filled with nasty things. मैत्रेयवाच विनिन्द्यैव स गिरीशम् अप्रतीपम् अवस्थितं दक्षोत्ताप उपसृष्य क्रुद्धः क्रुद्धः सप्तुं प्रचक्रमे. The sage Maitreya continued, thus Daksha, seeing Lord Shiva sitting as if against him, washed his hands and mouth and cursed him in the following words. अयं तु देवयजना इन्द्रोपेन्द्रादिभिर्भवः सह भागं न लभतां देवैर्देवगणाधमः. The demigods are eligible to share in the oblations of sacrifice, but Lord Shiva, who is the lowest of all demigods, should not have a share. निषिद्यमानः स सदस्य मुक्तेर्दक्षो गिरित्राय विसृज्य शापं तस्माद् विनिष्क्रम्य विवृद्धमन्युर्जगाम निजं निकेतनम्. Maitreya continued, "My dear Vidura, in spite of the requests of all members of the sacrificial assembly, Daksha, in great anger, cursed Lord Shiva and then left the assembly and went back to his home. Vijnana Shapam Girishanu Gagranir. Let me say. Vijnaya Shapam Girishanu Gagranir नन्दीश्वरो रोषकषाय दूष्टितः दक्षाय शापं विससर्ज दारुणं ये चान्वमोदंस्तद् अवाच्यतां द्विजाः. Upon understanding that Lord Shiva had been cursed, Nandishwar, one of Lord Shiva's principal associates, became greatly angry. His eyes became red, and he prepared to curse Daksha and all the Brahmanas present there who had tolerated Daksha's cursing Shiva in harsh words. एतन्मत्यम् उद्दिश्य भगवति अप्रतिद्रुहि द्रुह्यति अग्नः प्रत्यग्दृष्टिस्तत्त्वतो विमुखो भवेत्. Anyone who has accepted Daksha as the most important personality and neglected Lord Shiva because of envy is less intelligent, and because of visualizing in duality will be bereft of transcendental knowledge. गृहेषु कूटधर्मेषु शक्तो ग्राम्य सुखेच्छया कर्मतन्त्रं वितनुते वेदवादविपन्नदैः. Pretentiously religious householder life, in which one is attracted to material happiness and thus also attracted to the superficial explanation of the Vedas, robs one of all intelligence and attaches one to fruitive activities as all in all. बुद्ध्या पराविद्यायिन पराविद्यायिन्या विश्रम विश्रुतात्मा गतिः पशुः स्त्रीकामसोस्व अतितरां दक्षो बष्टमुखो चिरात्. Daksha has accepted the body as all in all. Therefore, since he has forgotten the Vishnupada or Vishnu Gati and is attached to sex life only, within a short time he will have the face of a goat. Vidya buddhir avidyayam karma mayam asau jadaha samsarantva iha ye chamum anusarva vamaninam. Those who have become as dull as matter by cultivating materialistic education and intelligence are nascently involved in fruitive activities. Such men have purposefully insulted Lord Shiva. May they continue in the cycle of repeated birth and death. गिरः श्रुतया पुष्पिण्या मधुगन्धेन भूरिणा मत्ना चोन्मत्तितात्मनः सम्मूयन्तु हरः द्विषः. May those who are envious of Lord Shiva, being attracted by the flowery language of enchanting Vedic promises, and who have thus become dull, always remain attached to fruitive activities. सर्वभक्षा द्विजावृत्यैः ऋता विद्या तपोवृताः वित्ता देहेन्द्रियाराम याचका विचरन्त्व इह. These Brahmanas take to education, austerity, and vows only for purpose of maintaining the body. They shall be devoid of discrimination between what to eat and what not to eat. They will acquire money begging from door to door simply for the satisfaction of the body. तस्यैवं वदतः शापं श्रुत्वा द्विजकुलाय वै भृगुः प्रत्यसृजश्चापं ब्रह्मदण्डं दुरत्ययम्. When all the hereditary Brahmanas were thus cursed by Nandishwara, the sage Bhrigu, as a reaction, condemned the followers of Lord Shiva with this very strong Brahmanical curse. भववृत्तधर ये च तान् समनुव्रताः पाषण्डिन ते भवन्तु सत्शास्त्र परिपन्थिनः One who takes a vow to satisfy Lord Shiva or who follows such principles will certainly become an atheist and be diverted from transcendental scriptural injunctions. Nashta saucha mudha diyo jata भस्मास्ति दारिणः विशन्तु शिवदीक्षायां यत्र दैवं सुरासवम्. Those who vow to worship Lord Shiva are so foolish that they imitate him by keeping long hair on their heads. When initiated into worship of Lord Shiva, they prefer to live on wine, fresh flesh, and other such things. ब्रह्म च ब्राह्मणांश्चैव यद्यूयं परिनिन्दता सेतुं विधारणं पुंसाम् अतः पाषण्डम् आश्रिताः. Bhrigu continued, since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmanas who are followers of Vedic principles, it is understood that you have already taken shelter of the doctrines of atheism. एष एव हि लोकानां शिवपन्तः सनातनः यं पूर्वे चानुशन्तस्तुर्यत् प्रमाणं जनार्दनः. The Vedas give the eternal regulative principles for auspicious advancement in human civilization, which have been rigidly followed in the past. The strong evidence of this principle is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is called Janardana, the well-wisher of all living entities. तद्ब्रह्म परमं शुद्धं सतां वर्त्म सनातनं विगर्ह्य आयात पाषण्डं दैवं वो यत्र भूतराट्. By blaspheming the principles of Vedas, which are the pure and supreme path of the saintly person, certainly you follower of Bhutapati, Lord Shiva, will descend to the standard of atheism without a doubt. Maitreya Vacha तस्यैवं वदतः शापं भृगो स भगवान् भवः निश्चक्राम ततः किञ्चिद् विमना एव सानुगः. The sage Maitreya said, when such cursing and counter cursing was going on between Lord Shiva's followers and the parties of Daksha and Bhrigu, Lord Shiva became very morose. Not saying anything, he left the arena of the sacrifice, followed by his disciples. तेऽपि विश्वसृजः सत्रं सहस्र परिवस् परिवत्सरन् परिवत्सरान् संविदाय महेश्वास यत्र यज्ञ ऋषभो हरिः. The sage Maitreya continued, O Vidura, all the progenitors of the universal population thus executed a sacrifice for thousands of years, for sacrifice is the best way to worship the Supreme Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. आप्लुत्या वभृतं यत्र गंगा यमुना यान्विता विरजानात्मना सर्वे स्वं स्वं धाम ययुस्ततः. My dear Vidura, carriers of bows and arrows, all the demigods who were performing the sacrifice took their bath at the confluence of Ganges and the Yamuna after completing the yajna performance. Such a bath is called Avabrata Snana. After thus becoming purified in heart, they departed for their respective abodes. Thus ends this chapter 2 from the 4th canto. Daksha curses Lord Shiva. Hare Krishna. Quite an excitement chapter, isn't it? There's so much here. Let's see, next 10-15 minutes, how we take further understanding. So here it starts, yeah, Vidura is asking about that why was Daksha, who was so affectionate towards his daughter, hmm, envious of Lord Shiva, who is the best among the gentle, why did he neglect his daughter Sati? So here we say here Shilavatam. There is that Bhave Shilavatam Shresthe. This is the words that Vidura is asking. This Bhava, Lord Shiva, is first all auspicious. Shiva itself means all auspicious, and he is not envious. He is equal to all living beings. He is personification of all good qualities. This first shloka is saying Daksha Duhitra Vatsala. And how come that this Daksha, who was so affectionate towards his Duhit, I mean daughter, very affectionate to his daughter, uh, Vidvesham akarot kasmad. Vidvesham, so much, what do you call, enmity. Akarot exhibited. Why did he exhibited so much? Neglecting even his daughter. And the personality of Lord Shiva symbolizes the best of gentlemen. Then why was Daksha, who offended his beloved daughter, to such a gentle personality? This is very surprising. In fact, the next sloka he says, Kastam Charachara Gurum. He is not just ordinary, he is Charachara Gurum. Yeah, he is a great Guru. He is a Guru of all, the spiritual master of Charachara, which is entire world. Uh, Nirvairam, he has no enemies. Shanta Vigraham, peaceful. Atma Aramam, satisfied in himself. So, such a person, how can someone have such feelings? How is it possible Daksha could be inimical towards such an auspicious personality? This question goes further. Vidura was therefore astonished. Daksha is such a great man, first of all, and he thought, and is the father of Sati, second thing, and Lord Shiva is spiritual master of everyone. How then could there possibly be so much enmity between them that Sati, the most chaste goddess, could give up her body because of their quarrel? Okay, there might be some quarrel between son-in-law, father-in-law, and all these things can be okay, but to the extent that one who is considering Sati as is the dearmost daughter, he's how come that Sati has uh, given up herself? Uh, so so he's asking, Maitreya, he's asking, to part with one's life is very difficult. Would you kindly explain to me how such son-in-law, father-in-law could quarrel so bitterly? At least the father will compromise or the husband will compromise in one way or the other. Sati shouldn't have led to such a situation that she has given up her life. So this is what he is asking. And then Maitreya is continuing. He is saying, Marichi, here is in the purport it is said, thus begins the history of a great sacrifice performed by the leaders of the universal creation, namely Marichi, Daksha, Vasishta. They were doing this yajna. Hmm? And for this yajna, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva were also present. Hmm? And when Daksha, the leader of Prajapati, came, everyone stood up and everyone offered respect except two personalities who were there, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Daksha was adequately welcomed by the president of Great Assembly, the Lord Brahma. Brahma also then welcomed. Uh, of course, he didn't get up from his seat, but he welcomed. After offering Lord Brahma respect, Daksha, by the order of Brahma, properly took his seat. But before sitting, he couldn't. Yeah, something was very inconvenient for him, that respect was missing, especially from one who is already expecting a lot of respect. Before taking his seat, Daksha was very much offended to see Lord Shiva sitting and not showing him respect. So, if we talk about in this pastime, we can see what happens here is Daksha, who is considering by his age, he is superior. But in terms of qualities and in terms of, yeah, Lord Shiva is Guna Avatar. Yeah, there are three gunas, and Lord Brahma is the Lord of, what is it? Uh, Passion, yeah, passion, creation. And Lord Shiva is the Lord of mode of ignorance, and in that way, he's a Guna avatar. He is not an ordinary being. At the time, Daksha became greatly angry, and he began to speak very strongly. So, in fact, feeling offended or insulted is due to taking pride of oneself. If I think that I am great and if one is not respecting my greatness, I feel offended. That is the mood tendency of a normal being. And here, Daksha, who is an expert, who is well known, who is respected by everyone, it was that he was not respected by one person, that to his own person, that made him feel very painful. When we are given recognition, then pride comes, and in this is where Daksha got this pride, and due to pride, Daksha took it as an insult when Shiva didn't raise. But this feeling is an accumulation of ill feeling from the past. In fact, he was thinking that's what comes when he starts opening up his mouth. He Good feelings lead to construction, but ill feelings will lead to destruction, and this is the beginning of that. Daksha, blinded by false ego, thought himself to be gentleman. He was thinking, I am perfect. Yeah, and that's why he says, I speak for what I speak about the manners of gentle persons. So he is considering himself a gentle person, and he thinks that he knows the conduct of gentle person, and he thinks that Lord Shiva is not gentle, and he starts speaking envy. And from the very beginning, Daksha was envious of Lord Shiva. Therefore, he could not distinguish his own particular envy. This is also what happens when we are envious. Usually, out of envy, we don't know. We can't appreciate others' greatness. Envious persons try to cover their statements by saying they are not envious. Envious Daksha blasphemes Lord Shiva as shameless. Hmm? And he says he doesn't know how to what is the right conduct. So they take yeah, and he goes, Shiva has spoiled the name and fame of this universe and has polluted the path of gentle manners. Because he is shameless, he does not know how to act. And uh, he goes further to defame. He has already accepted himself as my subordinate by marrying my daughter, but he has married my daughter who is equal to Gayatri and has pretended to be just like an honest person. Huh? And then Daksha accumulated all this ill feeling, tried to justify. He started saying one by one, saying that Lord Shiva didn't raise or offer sweet words. Envy burns from inside and comes out in one way or the other. And Daksha was not happy to marry his daughter with Shiva, but what to do? Lord Brahma was, uh, and he couldn't say no to the seniors. That grew more and more, and envy began developed to this level that he is now openly speaking. He's saying Lord Shiva is so kind that he takes charge of persons who are in gross ignorance and whose behavior is lower than that of animals. Therefore, Lord Shiva is especially called auspicious. But same auspicious person, for in the eyes of Daksha, he was thinking he is inauspicious. Tasma Unmada Nathaya. This is saying Unmada means a lot of ghosts. Nashta Sauchaya, being devoid of all cleanliness, Duhrude, heart filled with nasty things. Datta was given. He's saying, on the request of Lord Brahma only, I had to give my daughter to this person who is devoid of all cleanliness. His heart is not good, very nasty. And then Maitreya continued, thus Daksha, seeing Lord Shiva sitting, washed his hand and mouth and cursed him as follows. He is cursing Lord Shiva. This is very, very uh, unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that a person is cursing others. In this case, he is cursing whom? A devotee. Of course, a person intentionally may not curse a devotee, but who knows? Uh, Out of our ego, we may not appreciate the devotion in other person and we may curse him. We have to be very careful because that here we see what happened to Daksha. Because of this curse, Shiva was deprived of his share in oblations. It was due to the curse of Daksha, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments in this connection that Lord Shiva was saved from the calamity of taking part in with other demigods who were all materialistic. So in one way, Lord Shiva was feeling relieved. Oh, yeah, sometimes na, though we are in a higher position, but when we are with others, yeah, then okay, one may treat everyone equally, and we also are treated equally. And here, Lord Shiva, when he was relieved from taking the fruit or the results of the yajna like any other demigods, he in fact felt happy. Oh, now I don't have to go and take this. Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee of Lord Supreme Lord, and it is not fitting for him to eat or sit with the materialistic persons like the demigods. Thus, the curse of Daksha was indirectly a blessing, for Shiva would not have to eat or sit with other demigods who were too materialistic. Hmm. And then Daksha in anger cursed Lord Shiva. Anger is so dangerous. We can see here that even Daksha left the arena when all the personalities were assembled. It is not that only Daksha was the most respected person there. Yeah, there is Marichi there, there is Vasishta there, there is Lord Brahma, and how can one leave? No. So anger can endanger Vaishnava association. So instead of having association of that great people, he left. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita, we can see one who desires to make tangible advancement in spiritual master must avoid three things which are gates to hell. What is that? Kama, Krodha, Lobha. And these are coming because of mode of passion. And here, Daksha, like a mad elephant that can do anything horrible, and one who offends Vaishnava can do anything. And that's what happened here. The very name of Daksha, this is in the verse number 20, 19. The very name Daksha suggests that he was expert in all material activities, but still, because of his aversion towards such a saintly personality as Shiva, he was attacked by the three enemies: anger, lust, and passion. Daksha in anger cursed Lord Shiva, and then we see what happened. Nandishwar prepared to curse Daksha and other Brahmanas. Shiva was being cursed, was silent, and didn't counter curse, though he could. Shiva, he was silent. He was just he was tolerating, or not even tolerating. He is in his own. Uh, he was in his own service, yeah, because at the time it is said that Lord Shiva was in meditation. And Nandishwar to be not tolerant when his master was cursed is appropriate. In the purport 20 it is said. In fact, this is a very powerful and very important instruction that we can see. When a guru is insulted by someone, or when a guru is ignored or neglected by someone, the role of the disciple or the shishya is to actually support. Rather, yeah, sometimes he may think, oh, it could be because of that, it could be because of this. Here, Nandeshwar, yeah, he could see how could, forget about all these things, how could Daksha curse my lord, my master? Nandeshwar, to be not tolerant when his master was cursed is appropriate as per this purport. Yeah, you can see, although Lord Shiva could also have counter cursed, he was silent. That is the conduct greatness of Lord Shiva, to be tolerant and to be silent. But Nandeshwara, his follower, was not tolerant. Of course, as a follower, it was right for him not to tolerate an insult to his master. But he should not have cursed the Brahmanas who were present. That is one thing. The entire issue was so complicated that those who were not strong enough forgot their positions, and thus cursing and counter cursing went on in that great assembly. In other words, the material field is so unsteady that even personalities like Nandishwara, Daksha, and many of the Brahmanas present were infected by the atmosphere of the Lord. Am I still there? I don't know.
Yes, Roji, we can hear you.
Yeah? You can hear me?
Yes, Roji, we can hear
Yes,
you
Prabhu.
clearly.
Okay. So then what happened is the curse came. There is a series of curses. Yeah. First curse was anyone who neglected Shiva will be bereft of transcendental knowledge. This is one thing. Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu. So a Vaishnava should be treated with great awe and respect. Yeah. And insulting him or cursing him, here we can see what happened was Nandeshwar could not tolerate, not just because of master, but because he is the greatest Vaishnava. Anyone who has accepted Daksha as the most important personality and neglected Lord Shiva, yeah, maybe this is kind of, there are these Brahmanas who were just, they were sitting silent when all this thing was happening, yeah, or they were also thinking, oh, okay, yeah, um, in fact, in Shiva Puran, there is more further description of how various rishis or munis they were dealing the situation. Maybe I'll cover that in some other occasion. So it was that either one were passive or one were cursing. So in that way, the whole act of actually stopping Daksha, no one stopped him, yeah, and Daksha could curse Lord Shiva, and that's why that was faulty. But when Nandeshwar was cursing, actually, except that he has cursed a Brahmana, which is not right, but otherwise, yeah, he has stood with his master. He had excessive attachment. This it is said. Daksha, Nandishwara said, identified himself with the body like the other materialistic persons. So Daksha was so much attached to the bodily identity. Therefore, Nandishwar cursed was that anyone who supported Daksha would be bereft of transcendental knowledge of the soul and thus also be deprived of knowledge. Next curse. Daksha will have the face of a goat because he is only interested in the material happiness. Yeah, he was not able to appreciate a sadhu in that assembly. He was not able to tolerate a sadhu because of envy, and this envy is because is a strong sign of enjoying oneself or self-centeredness, and this self-centeredness, the topmost of that is material sex life, and that's why this identity with the body and that too this sex life as the most important thing. That's why Nandeshwar cursed that very soon he will get the face of a goat. Then goes further, curse number 3 is one who becomes dull due to material education and intelligence and have insulted Shiva will continue in the cycle of repeated birth and death. Huh? That is there. And then whoever is envious of Lord Shiva and attracted to Vedic promises and become dull always remain attached to fruit activities. Huh? Then next curse, after all this, Brahmanas who supported Daksha, devoid of discrimination between what to eat and what not to eat. Huh? They acquire money simply for satisfaction of the body. May those who are envious of Lord Shiva, being attracted by the flowery language of enchanting Vedic promises, and who have thus become dull, always remain attached to the fruit activities. Uh, and anyway, this goes further, and then there is in fact, let me see, 28th verse. He says, one who takes a vow to satisfy Lord Shiva or who follows such principles will certainly become an atheist and be diverted from the transcendental scriptural injunction. So Bhrigu was cursing that all the followers of Lord Shiva, tasyevam vadatah shapam shrutva dvija kulaya vai Bhrigu. When all this was happening, then Bhrigu condemned the followers of Lord Shiva with this very strong Brahmanical curse. He said, Bhava Vrata Dhara Yecha means one who is the follower of Bhava, Lord Shiva. Yecha tan samanu vrata pashandina tu te bhavantu sach shastra paripantinah. So, diverted from the transcendental scriptural injunction. So this is also confirmed in Padma Puran. Lord Shiva was ordered by the Supreme Lord to preach impersonal and or Mayavad philosophy for a particular purpose, just as Lord Buddha preached the philosophy of voidness. So Lord Shiva himself says, Mayavadam Asat Shastram. Asat Shastram means not real Shastram. So this is because, yeah, of course, yeah, it was a curse, but for a good reason. Why? Because when Buddhism was prevailing, yeah, there was this time when Buddhism had to be uh, or uh, spreading of Buddhism had to be controlled. Yeah, so this is what is the principle saying. Okay, uh, uh, Bhrigu Muni cursed that persons who worship Lord Shiva would become followers of this Mayavad Asat Shastram. Oh, there is no God, or no, there is God, but you know what? There is no form. And then, besides that, among the worshippers of Lord Shiva, there is a section who live a devilish life. Srimad Bhagavatam and Narada Pancharatra are authorized scriptures that are considered as Sat Shastram, or scriptures which lead one to the path of God realization. So, and then Nashta Saucha Mudha Diyo. He says, those who vow to worship Lord Shiva are so foolish that they imitate him by keeping long hair on their heads. When initiated into worship of Lord Shiva, they prefer to live on wine, flesh, and other things. So this is the sharp of Bhrigumuni. Bhrigumuni, he continued, since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmanas who are followers of Vedic principles, it is understood that you have already taken shelter of doctrine of atheism. Why? Because whatever the Lord said to respect the Brahmanas, you have cursed the Brahmanas and you have defamed the Vedas. So you are already not accepting the Lord and His teachings. The Vedas give the eternal regulative principles for auspicious advancement in human civilization, which have been rigidly followed in the past. The strong evidence of this principle is the Supreme Lord, who is called Janardana, the well-wisher of all living entities. And there he says, so by blaspheming the principles of Vedas, which are pure and supreme path of saintly persons, certainly you followers of Bhutanath will descend to the standard of atheism without a doubt. And all this was happening, and Lord Shiva became very morose, not saying anything. He left the arena. And then here in the purport it said, Vaishnava is always tolerant, and Lord Shiva is considered the topmost Vaishnava. So his character, as shown in this scene, is excellent. He became morose because he knew that these people, both his men and Dakshas, were unnecessarily cursing and counter cursing one another without any interest in spiritual life. Here we can see that Lord Shiva is considering the cursing of Nandishvara as unnecessary. Why? Because out of his humility. But in the same chapter, we can see that in fact it is confirmed and approved that Nandishwar to curse or to react or to speak strongly against those who have offended his master is acceptable. So one who is perfectly learned does not see anyone as lesser or greater because he sees everyone from the spiritual platform. Thus, the only alternative left to Lord Shiva was to leave in order to stop his follower Nandishwar as well as Bhrugumuni from cursing and counter cursing in this way. And when what this happened, then all others, after finishing the yajna, they all left to their own home. So there, yeah, we conclude this chapter. Then we discuss about what happens once upon a time when Sati and Lord Shiva are discussing. This is what we will discuss tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Whew, I don't know. Is it very heated up topic from the Srimad Bhagavatam? Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
So, Prabhuji, so the shrap that Nandishwar was, he was cursing Brahmanas. So, according to Lord Shiva, that it was not right way, but because of his humility. But as you said that because he, because Lord Shiva
See,
was his master.
Lord Shiva, who is just absorbed in meditating on the Supreme Lord, yeah, and yeah, because of his great quality, he was spotless. All whatever Daksha was telling, he was telling upside down or the opposite. Lord Shiva is such a great personality. He first of all felt, why are these people talking unnecessarily? All these things, yeah. Important is to do what? Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Mudamate. Instead of all this, for him, he had the simple approach, but it was this Nandeshwar who was cursing, and he, out of his care for his disciples, yeah, what he did was that, yeah, he left so that at least, okay, they will come with him, follow, and then this whole episode of cursing will stop. Yeah, and that is what I said. So for Lord Shiva, he thought, okay, that's fine. Okay, better is to somehow rather than he had the power to curse because he is also, as I said, not ordinary personality. But he didn't do that. First of all, that he exhibited. The second thing is that he left the place so that this can stop soon. Yes, but I was mentioning that Nandeshwar to curse. Yeah, I mean Nandeshwar to defend on behalf of his master or to react for his master or to protect. One should not tolerate the insulting of one's spiritual master. So Nandeshwar, what he did is right. This is what I was mentioning. The only thing is, in this process, when he was cursing, he was actually also was cursing the Brahmanas. That is a kind of a not a right etiquette, or risking oneself. Yeah, in the spirit of protecting or value of his spiritual master, Nandeshwar has invited a different kind of a problem, yeah, which Lord Shiva didn't like. He thought that's unnecessary. Hmm?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but so from this part, I mean, this chapter, it's very clear that one should be very, very vigilant to uh, protect, yeah, Guru. Yeah, here we can see Nandishwar considering Lord Shiva. Of course, we may think Lord Shiva is the Lord, so Nandishwara is considering Lord Shiva as the Lord. Yeah, in fact, even from the Guru Ashtakam, we see it is said that the spiritual master should be given the treatment that one gives to the spiritual Supreme Lord, right? Hmm?
Yes,
So
Prabhuji.
in that way, Nandishwar doing that is approved. Yeah, that's the right. Is approved. Only exception was, yeah, it was little stronger in that process of protecting or saving, yeah, or what we call is, yeah, not reciprocating, in responding, correct. In the sense of responding of Nandeshwar is approved. Only thing is, shouldn't have gone to that extent of cursing a Brahman. I think, yeah, that is the understanding. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Okay. Other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, thanks for this wonderful recitation, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, I think as a fallout from the story, Lord Shiva becomes upset and he carries, Sati's body, and he does this Rutra Tandav, and it falls in the 51 places that becomes Shakti Peeth later on.
Mm-hmm.
So those were also part of Bhagavatam, Prabhuji, or
Yeah.
okay, okay, nice, Prabhuji. So then, truly Amala Puran, as they say, because in Tamil Nadu, there's a famous temple called Madurai, Prabhuji. I'm sure most of you know. So
Mm-hmm.
Madurai Meenakshi Amman, we say. So history goes like, Sati was reincarnated as Meenakshi, goddess Meenakshi, and there you have the supremacy of the female, and Lord Shiva himself is like, secondary, and it's a very famous.
Mm-hmm.
And in Tamil tradition, we just say, Madurai or Chidambaram in a funny way, they say, Prabhuji, meaning like in a house where female dominates, it's called Madurai, and if it's male domination, it's Chidambaram, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, nice point. I only know Madurai is famous, yeah, and the temple is huge temple, and it's a Shakti Peeth. I didn't know that it's a Shakti Peeth. Or are
No,
you
no,
saying that it's not a Shakti Peeth, but
it's not a Shakti
what?
Peeth.
Hmm. And,
Like basically, the history of Madurai says that Sati Devi was reborn as Madurai Meenakshi Amman, but it's not one of the 50, it's not one of the 51
okay.
Shakti Peeth.
Okay. And another thing is, it's so very, very ancient and established temple. In fact, we hear so many ghost haunting stories. There are people who are haunted, they are brought there, and then there's one usually are scared to stay in the night in near around temple. There's so many things. Yeah, it's very, very marvelous temple.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. What you were saying, na? What did you say? Uh, Madurai and Chidambaram. So Madurai, I understand. It's
Yeah.
a ghost haunting place where Shakti
No,
is.
actually, yeah, actually, the context is totally like, in Madurai, Meenakshi has the
Power. Yeah,
supremacy, and
dominance.
Lord Shiva is like secondary. I think he comes and kind of, really he's in love with the goddess,
Mm.
and
There's a
he's
story.
at as a so basically in Tamil Nadu we say like and in Chidambaram it is Nadarajar Prabhuji. So that's the male is the supreme. So in a funny way, people tease like if there is a women domination in the house, they say like, is it Madurai or Chidambaram? In a funny way. Yes,
I think it's yeah, in whichever yuga it is still the female domination, right?
yes, true.
Uh, that is that is the Chidambara Rahasya. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Then we'll continue with this wonderful pastime. What happened next tomorrow? Vanchakalpatarabhyascha kripa sindhubhyavacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताई गौर प्रेम।
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you.